Hey, this is the World Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is a question a lot of people have nowadays, which is the question of, is America on the verge of a civil war? Okay, especially with all the political division that they have in the nation nowadays. Um, and not just political division, but a lot of political polarization where people only hang around people who think the way they do in one way or the other, whether left or right. The truth of the matter is America on the verge of a civil war? As it has a lot of factors that are coming in the mix, that is actually the breeding ground for a civil war. Okay? When a nation's gonna have civil wars. So now that I've mentioned that, let's get started. Okay? So when it comes to the question of will America have a civil war, the simple answer to that question that I think will surprise a lot of people is I don't believe it will have a civil war. Okay, I do believe there will absolutely be massive issues and divisions as a result of obviously Donald Trump being elected as president, whether they let him be elected or he becomes elected. I definitely do believe there will be massive divisions, but I don't believe there will actually be a civil war. As the truth of the matter is, the world has obviously changed a lot since the last time America had a civil war, okay? Such as obviously the fact that obviously America is, as well as the world for that matter, is a lot more connected. And us more connected, there's a lot more things put in place to prevent a situation like that from happening in the first place. Such as the fact that we obviously have the United Nations, who obviously can do things like sanctions to prevent things from getting like really bad, from getting really bad to the point that's going to border something like that, especially for a nation that actually is important in the world stage like America. The truth of the matter is there's a lot of things put in place to prevent it from ever getting bad. Will I believe there will be some massive disruptions as a result of it, and even maybe some terrorist groups that might exist that might cause problems? In a worst case scenario, yes, there might be some form of an insurgency in the South. Like, for example, if Donald Trump is not elected, that might go around causing problems and this and that, and even border along the lines of the Taliban in a worst case scenario. But anything massive and major is just very unlikely and very unbelievable for that matter. Because the truth of the matter is we live in prosperous times. Yes, life is getting harder, but it's not anything so unbelievably unbearable to really create a civil war. And the truth of the matter is a lot of people, especially in developed countries, are all talk, okay? For that matter, they're all talk, particularly the right wing, in all honesty, which I've made it clear for my videos, I'm not the biggest fan of the right wing. For many different reasons, but the truth of the matter is the right wing is full of people who talk, okay? The right wing is like that person who likes to bully people in school and just like to terrorize people until they meet someone who is like, okay, I'm actually gonna fight back against you, and I ain't fronting dog, like I'm actually gonna not only fight against you, I'm gonna make sure I'm training, so I make sure I'm as prepared as possible. And then you start seeing the bullies start making excuses and kind of backing down a bit, okay? The right wing are bullies, okay? They prey on vulnerable communities of people, particularly groups of people of color, such as Black, Latinos, and so on and so forth. They are notorious bullies, okay? They prey. So yeah, like I'll say, it's full of people who only bully people when they're vulnerable, and so on and so forth. A lot of the things that they do to not only Black and Latinos, particularly Blacks, of course, they did to other groups of people until those groups of people became powerful and stuff, and then they kind of left them the fuck alone. Okay, the right wing in general are bullies, and when they're dealing with someone who's like, okay, I'm not backing down, I'm actually really gonna fight now, you start seeing that they always wither and they always back down. Okay, so the truth of the matter is, if they were to ever start a civil war, I just don't believe it would work. Because obviously, there's many things that come back to haunt them. First and foremost, obviously, the biggest thing that happened, if that happened, the war would obviously side more with the United States government, the main United States government for that matter, okay? As the truth of the matter is, obviously, it's the most powerful nation and what we recognize as the United States, okay? For that matter, to be honest with you, okay? So obviously if they could do that, then obviously they could put sanctions on the South, okay? Not to mention, obviously, to go alongside that fact, could they put sanctions that could prevent the South from truly being able to really secede without the consequences of secession, such as the fact that they would not be able to import goods and stuff from other parts of the world, which clearly at this point in age, all of America is desperate need of, such as the fact that most goods and materials are made in China and stuff. Obviously, sanctions would be devastating for them, common sense would indicate. Not to mention, there's just so many scenarios and so much things that the US government has already prepared for this stuff that you cannot imagine, okay? No one trusts the government, but one thing we can at least say about the government, because no one trusts them for that matter, is that they do a lot of shady things for that matter behind the scenes, okay? That they ain't telling us. Most of us know what they say in person is not always what they're saying behind the scenes at this point. It's been well established. There's a lot of shady things they've been caught up in. Whether it's something like, who knows, maybe even possible contact with aliens, to the fact that they have underground bunkers, for that matter, prepare them for a terrible scenario if the war were to come to an end, okay? The truth of the matter is, you think they haven't prepared for a secession from these nations, for that matter? From the South, you think they haven't prepared for that? They haven't kept that in their mind like 24/7 and come up with literally thousands upon thousands of different scenarios if that were to happen? That's what I'm trying to say here, okay? For that matter, okay? So you think they can't prepare themselves for it? Not to mention there's many different plot holes with it, such as obviously the fact that most of what United States has that gives America power is under the control of more liberal states. Things that you take for granted, such as having things like YouTube, so you can talk to people online on YouTube, to other particular websites that of course are very prolific and powerful, are either situated in the northeastern United States to the southwest United States, okay? So if they were to have a true rebellion, couldn't they shut those things down? Prevent them from having access to it? Not to mention when they have access to things like the power grid, so they could shut down a lot of functions in the South if they were to have a true rebellion. Not to mention, what about all the easy spies and people they could use, particularly African Americans? Because let's keep it real, we already know the South, okay? The South does not like black people. They never liked black people. They never did, and a lot of them never will, okay? You think they couldn't use African Americans to turn against a lot of the sovereign whites and give them information to set them up? That's what I'm trying to say. That's why in life you have to use your head and not just listen to what people say, but also put things together, okay? I'm not saying it couldn't happen, it wouldn't be devastating, but I just don't believe that it would get anywhere near as bad as a civil war. It's just too many variables and too many principles that could prevent anything from getting that bad. It's like anything in the modern world. It's all fucking talk. Everyone always says they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Well, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, you always realize at the end of the day, things start kind of backing down, okay? For that matter. And the truth of the matter is, I just don't believe it would happen. It's just too many things in place to prevent it from happening. Not to mention what would happen to all the people in the South who use TikTok. Obviously China and America are not the greatest of friends, but I'm certain they would obviously have to realize that they have to work together, especially since the fact that obviously the international community will be pissed at them. So what are they going to do then? Not to mention, last of all, we live in the most spoiled generation that has ever existed in the face of humanity. So if we live in a generation of people who are so freaking spoiled, for that matter, how are they going to have to deal with the true realities of war? How are they going to deal with the fact that there's massive artillery bombings going outside their houses? How are they going to deal with the fact of they're losing thousands upon thousands of people every single day? Okay? How are they going to deal with all those factors? that come into place? How are they going to deal with the true reality of war and how terrible it is, and how things that you took so for granted before feel like freaking heaven on earth? Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And that's why when I hear shit like that, I'm just kind of like, I ain't really believing that stuff. I don't really truly think it's gonna happen. There's too many things in place, and when people get a little taste of the reality of how it's like overseas, and just for that matter, when shit gets real, you will see a lot of people start backing down and so on and so forth. So it's a bunch of crap. I don't think there's gonna be civil war, but I do believe it will be massive civil unrest. Okay, to be fair. So anyway, this is my video. I hope you found it informative and liked it. Anyway, if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all to say, and simply put it, later.